All right, so go ahead and turn these to this.
Can we access this later also?
Yeah, so I'll send them to Brian and
Come
he'll.
on in. Morning, good morning.
There we go. All right, you are good to go.
All right, awesome, thanks.
Yeah.
Well, what? Huh? Welcome. Hello. Hello, hello. On this brisk, springy morning. Is that right? Are we in spring? Not quite. Not yet. It's time. It's time for the break. We have our panelists come on up and join us up front. I'll let you.
Hello, everybody. Welcome. We are at the K-State Olathe Innovation Center. This is where you are sitting here. This is our second annual Food Biz Conference. So welcome to that. My name is Nita. I am the workforce specialist at Square One. So I'm here for all your career services need, career planning, development, all of that jazz. Okay, so a few things that we like to go over. If you need to know where the bathrooms or exits are, there is a map in your folder. So just utilize that to find out where they are. I believe there are bathrooms going to our left at the very end of that hallway there. If you have cell phones, of course, please silence those. If you need to take a call, feel free to step outside and take care of that. All your folders should contain a QR code. There should be 2 of those. So we do surveys. So please fill out that survey before you leave. The surveys are how we continue to receive that grant money. So we can put on programming like this for you all for free. Okay. And so every class will either be for culinary arts, the Culinary Center, or for Square One. So this is a Square One programming, so just fill out that the one for the Square One. Okay, anything else here? Well, that's all of my housekeeping rules, so I will turn it over to Ann and our panelists.
Again, good morning, everyone. Welcome to second annual Food Business Conference. We are going to have a conversation today about funding for your business. And so we have 2 panelists. I will let them introduce themselves. I will ask them a couple of questions to share some information, and then we will open up the floor to you all so that you get your questions answered. How does that sound? All right. So again, I am Ann. I'm the director of Square One, where we provide entrepreneurial and career services support. To my right, I have.
Well, I was gonna have her go first, but I'm
Okay,
Jonas Watson. I'm with Central Bank of the Midwest, assistant vice president, and I work with small businesses, medium-sized businesses of all sizes, and it's a pleasure to be here with you all.
My name is Kesey Milligan. I am a business development officer with Olathe. We are a community development financial institution. So we're a little bit different from the traditional lending institution that Mr. Watson represents here today. Glad to be with you. And we mainly support startups and small business owners. We tend to focus our efforts on minorities and women and men. We love men.
Wonderful. So, you know, you start with this beautiful business idea, you're inspired and you want to jump in and get started, and you run into what? We need money. We need money to make it grow. We need money to get it off the ground, et cetera. So I would like the panelists, Kesey, if you want to start, to talk about what are some things that they need to be thinking of, the audience needs to be thinking about in terms of preparing to be bankable or preparing to be able to be lended to.
So what I would say, and thank you for the question, Ann, what I would say is to create your roadmap. Your business plan and your financial projections are going to be key because those are your thoughts and what your assumptions are as far as how your business model will play out. Without that, number one, technically, no lender can assist you. You will need a business plan. Well, I don't want to say no lender, but it is a rule of thumb that for startups, the business plan and the financial projections, rule of thumb is at least 3 to 5 years on revenue and expenses coming into the business. And that will give you a gauge of what your profit will look like, you know, and how much money you're expected to spend on expenses and what you think your revenue.
Yeah, very good point. From a traditional lending standpoint, most banks or credit unions, I don't want to forget my credit union family, but most times they want to lend to not so much startups, but businesses that have some type of historical numbers, financials. You know, that's why we're great to have institutions like Olathe and some other, you know, institutions out there that can lend to the startup community. So coming into a bank for your first loan, your first year business may be a little challenging. I'm not going to say you can't get it, but I do encourage you to prepare for that, because what we like to see is some type of historical numbers. What can the business do? What have they done? Have you weathered some storms, meaning a year 1, year 2, and then now maybe year 3, you can come in and get some finance. However, there are opportunities to get funding if you are a startup. So let's say, should I go into that? Okay. So what you may want to think about is how I personally can provide funding. So they always say you start with your own savings, then family and friends, and then, you know, you might have to use, you know, your own personal assets, meaning, you know, you may have to do a home equity loan or line of credit to help fund your business. If you have equity in your home, that is an option. If you have, you know, if you're purchasing equipment, you know, depending on, you know, if you have outside income that can kind of help support the payment as the business ramps up. Some banks may help you finance that project utilizing that equipment. You know, cash value life insurance. So, you know, if you have cash value life insurance, not a term policy, but like a whole policy where it has some value there, banks could possibly lend to that if you have that option. So there are ways you can get around startups getting access to capital. Again, banks, we're just, you know, the rule of thumb, we want to see some historical numbers. You know, we're all about safe and being conservative. That's just what the bank does and credit union does at times. So just kind of be prepared for that. But as long as you have your projections in place, as Kesey mentioned, you know the business, you may have some customers, you can show some type of historical numbers showing that you can generate a little money. That way will kind of set you and prepare you for that next step.
Thank you all for that. So in your experience, in your time of doing this, working in funding, what are maybe the top 3 to 5 pitfalls that you have seen from small business owners? What have those challenges been?
They know how to work in their business, but that's about it. They know how to cook, and for this panel, they know how to prepare the food. They know where they're getting their food from. They know where their customer is. But unfortunately, they don't spend enough time learning the business of their business. Eventually, what I try to tell folks is to try to educate yourself in the very beginning stages of your business. What should I be doing? What should I know? Who should I be talking to? Because a lot of times we have hustle and grit. We get out there, we start the business, we self-fund, we've got friends on board, mom's paying, dad's paying, and then we get into a rut where now we want to expand, or now I need to hire somebody. Well, how are you going to go about doing that? I don't know. Well, see, now what happens is you have to remove yourself from your business to learn these things. And then, of course, if you remove yourself, there goes the revenue, it goes down, and most people don't want to do that, so they stay stuck there. I say educate yourself up front as you're beginning your business on what should I be doing? What should I know? Who should I be talking to? And have those partners that you can always bounce off as you're growing, so you don't get here and then you're trying to build relationships and reach out and get information on how to continue to grow.
You know, that's a really good point. You're one of the things I would say is building your team right? Just like as Kesey mentioned, your partners. So developing a banking relationship, or credit union relationship, whatever, you want to have someone who you can bounce ideas off of, because we are a partner, right? Having a bank account, knowing where to, ask questions. If you don't have a banking partner in your business now, find one. Get your bank account established and all that. Your partner should also include maybe an attorney, right? Making sure your contract's in place, making sure your invoices look right, making sure you're covered as a business. Insurance, make sure your insurance is right. Have all of that stuff in order, because obviously that's going to be very important for your business. And then, accountants, oh my goodness, it's good to have a tax preparer, but as you grow your business, get an accountant or a CPA, someone who can help you navigate your business. When you are ready to grow and ready to expand, they can have a conversation other than just filing your taxes. I know why some small businesses like to write off everything, in which none of us like to pay Uncle Sam, and I get it. But if you are coming into a bank or a credit union and asking for financing, we're going to see if the business can cash flow. And if the last 3 years you're writing off everything and showing the net income at the end, because of course we don't want to pay Uncle Sam, that can hurt you from a lending standpoint, because what that tells us is the business can't cash flow this new loan that you're requesting. So I would say definitely getting your team together. And if you don't know what that team is and who you should have on, talk to your banker, talk to Square One, talk to small business development centers. There's a plethora of resources here in Kansas City, and they should help you do that. Number 2 is working on your business, as Kesey said. Really, you all know how to bake things and make things, but knowing those outside things in regards to hire an employee, what does that mean? I'm looking to project and expand. What does that mean? A lot of those resources are available free or low cost here. Take advantage of those resources that are available. And one last thing is your credit, right? So you're building your credit. You eventually, people, I hear this misconception, hey, it's a business loan. You don't need my personal stuff. Absolutely we do, because if business A fails, who's going to pick up the tab and take care of the bank? And the bank, all we want to know is, can you pay our loan back? That's all we want to know, right? So I encourage you to work on your business credit or your personal credit, really develop that. If you got some things going on, start tackling now as you're, ramping up your business, because your personal credit is going to be very, very important.
So what, I started. So what have, out of this, because we do want to open it up to you all to ask questions.
Yes.
But what final things could you think to share with them before we open it up for them to ask you all questions?
What I would say, what we're looking at is the 5 C's of credit. We kind of ran through some of them, pretty much all of them. Competence. We know you can cook. You're competent in that, right? But what else lends to that? Oh, I've worked in restaurants all my life. Or my mom, she sold to the neighborhood folks, and we sold dinners out. That, what experience do you have that lends competence to you being able to start this business and be successful in it? Okay, competence. Character. If you come in and you tell us one thing, we pull everything and it's telling us something else, then your character is at question, do we really want to work with you? Be upfront. They're going to find out. It doesn't, we're more apt to work with you if you just come right out and just tell us what's going on, because we don't want to have to pull it and then be like, oh man, this person didn't tell the truth. Now that hurts you. Like he mentioned, credit. Start paying attention to it now. Get Credit Karma on your phone. Get Experian on your phone. Of course, that's not how we look at it, but it gives you a gauge on what open accounts you have, who's reporting on you, fraud, anything. And the question about student loans. Let's just get it out in the open now. You have student loans. Yes, we want to see that you're still making payments on that regardless what the federal government has said. Okay, so if you need to make a payment plan, go ahead and get that underway, because if you're looking for a loan, they want to know you're still making payments. Collateral. A lot of times we need to secure the loan with an asset. Is it the vehicle that you pay it off, right? Is it, I have some equity in my home? I don't own anything, but my dad does. You know, maybe he won't go through the application process, but he can pledge his boat at closing to help you get that loan. And then cash flow. After you made your money, paid all your expenses, are you making anything? Is there a net profit? That's what we want to see. Even if it's a small one, that number can grow. But if it starts at a negative, you're gonna have to chop some wood that second year to really pull out. Did I do 5 of them?
You did 5. That was
Okay.
really good.
So I'm gonna let yeah, there you go.
No, it's really good. And I would say, one last thing I would say is, in case you hit them all, is don't be afraid of ask questions, right? You all are not in it alone. Don't be afraid to ask questions. I know us bankers and folks, we sit and look important and we got our fancy ties and shirts and stuff. But we do encourage you all to ask questions. We want those questions. And your financial institution should be open to answering those questions because you all don't know this. We know this, and don't be afraid to ask questions about your finances, and don't be afraid to ask questions about, where do you go? That's why Kansas City is blessed to have a lot of great resources here and utilize the resources that are available for small business.
So that's a great segue. What questions do you have? What is that question that you've been afraid to ask? This is the safe space. This is the time to ask. Go, please.
Actually, and thank you so much. So fantastic, all of you. When you say, I wrote down, what is small, when you were saying about a net profit that we want to see, and it makes a lot of sense. When you said, even if it's small, and I'm just curious what that would be.
Well, that
I know
number,
it varies, but just.
Well, small compared to -0.
Right.
Anything above that. A profit is a profit. A profit is a profit because what you're able to determine from, even if, say, you paid all your bills, you broke even, you made 1,000, right? That's good. That's to be celebrated. How many people that had a red line next, or red, it was in parentheses, it was red, and they were negative $1,000. What that says is that you're on track. Then you can go back through that year. So we're looking at the end of the year, January to December. I made all this money, paid all these people, taxes and insurance. This is what I was left over as a returned earnings that you can carry over. So you can go back and say, oh, my light bill, oh, my internet, that vendor, can I get lemons cheaper? Because once you have year 1, year 2, now you can compare. Could I negotiate down my cost? Do I need to adjust my price menu? Don't forget that the global economy is your economy. If it costs over here in another country and they got to get away over here, then you need to understand how all of that global economy works. Did I get out track?
No.
Okay, thank you.
How y'all doing today? Can I share some experience
Absolutely.
with entrepreneurs in the room to consider?
Yes.
So don't negate incorporating as a nonprofit. Okay? And I don't know, some states are now having L3C. I don't know if anyone's familiar with that. So L3, talk about the nonprofit first. So as a chef, another chef next to me, do we be a for-profit? Do we be a nonprofit? So he chose to be a nonprofit, and he's, I won't tell you the name of the company, but they feed people in disaster areas. Okay, so he goes into his business, okay, to serve the community. Okay, so in that service, you do create a business and you do create jobs. So he started in 2010, and his salary last year, you ready? $190,000 a year, and he pays his wife $120,000 a year, working as a nonprofit. So don't negate incorporating as a nonprofit, even though you're a food business, because the food business arena is changing dramatically. Medically tailored meals, for instance, I was just talking to someone else downstairs. They're starting a kitchen SNAP is gonna be funding double fruits and vegetables, but who's gonna cook the fruits and the vegetables for the 75-year-olds on these Meals on Wheels plans? So if you incorporate as a nonprofit, you can do what you love, cooking roasted vegetables, helping the people, and you don't have to worry much about funding, and you don't have to worry much about a salary. I chose to be a for-profit. I put $50,000 into my businesses, and I've made no money yet in the same time period. We're getting close, but you have to be resilient. So the L3C structure is one that is bases on a social cause, and some states will let you incorporate as a L3C. Michigan is one of them. So you could incorporate as an L3C in Michigan and then operate in Kansas, okay? But the IRS has not ruled that nonprofit or folks can donate to that L3C yet and it be tax deductible. That's supposed to be what's happening. Just wanted to share that information to complement what you offer. So when they come, you don't have to always be a for-profit. You can be the nonprofit, and then you can also look into maybe being the L3C, which is you're going to the social cause first, so you're feeding the seniors first, to getting extra SNAP benefits, fruits and vegetables, roasted vegetables, because they can't cook roasted Brussels sprouts, and they might not be able to cook them at home. But if you cooked 3,000 pounds of them a week and distributed them into the community, you can be funded as a nonprofit. You can do what you love to do, and you're working towards that social.
You would really need your team that you were talking about of an accountant and an attorney, because when you're a nonprofit, every I needs to be dotted exactly and correctly. But wow, I didn't know.
Do you all have anything to add to that about for-profit versus nonprofit? Anything?
No, I mean, I've come from the grant world as well, and so I write plenty of grants, and right now the grants are substantial it's in the news now, SNAP, seniors and children. So if you can curtail your mission around one of those groups in serving them with your skill set, which would be cooking, then I think it's a great opportunity to start. But now just remember that there's a stress level still with nonprofits, because everybody's vying for those nonprofit dollars, right? So you're not going in there just yourself. I'm applying for this free money so I can be a nonprofit. No, you're competing against people all over the country for that same dollar. Okay. So you want to make sure that you have it goes back to that business plan, because then you still need a narrative. So you're not going to get out of writing. You're not going to get out of budgeting. And you're still going to need your team to help support you to make sure that you can continue to get those grant dollars and you don't owe that money back at the end because you misappropriated the funds.
Thank you for highlighting that. That's what I was saying. Grants are very competitive and you can get yourself in a lot of trouble. So have your team. If you don't know, find someone that knows. Sure, you had a question?
So do you think it would be wiser for your company to be for profit, but you have a cause for seniors and children to maybe apply for grants as a for-profit?
You can apply for a grant as a for-profit. You can apply for a loan as a nonprofit. It's all about how you want to run your business, right? Do you want to be a nonprofit? Maybe that's some soul searching. Maybe it's you need to read the actual definition of what that is, what that will entail, because we can't tell you which way to go, but you can research both ends and just find what fits best with your lifestyle, with what your goals are. Because when you're a nonprofit, I mean, it's volunteer, you need a lot of support because people have to be willing to give time, because you're not giving them, you're giving stipends. You may be able to give a payroll, but you're not going to be rolling in the dough.
It just helps, but like one thing, I help lots of small businesses, but it's whatever avenue is the easiest to keep it legal from the beginning. I think when people it's like, as long as you can keep it legal, when you have to start monkey wrenching things to make it legal, you're probably gonna get in trouble. So it's, I think it's a, whatever avenue is
That's
gonna
right.
keep you legal, is gonna keep you better.
So is there still a trend for nonprofits working together? You know, collaborating used to be where you could be that nonprofit and you were applying and it was just you, your organization, but then it transitioned to who are you working with? The funders were looking at who are you collaborating with to promote your mission, but also, you know, to support others. Are you still seeing that?
So it's almost like a fiduciary agent. So yes, so like Catholic Charities is one of the largest organizations in our area that receives grant funding, right? If you go up against them, good luck. What I would say is partnering with them. You can look at, so if you're looking for a grant, they will give you a list of who they funded in the past. Look at that list. Who aligns with your mission and your goals? Then approach them. You need that business. Nobody's gonna take you that much seriously. You can come in and talk to somebody all day long, but eventually they're gonna wanna see something tangible that you've been working on. You're still gonna have to share that business plan or narrative on what you're gonna wanna do. Because now they're almost like the bank. You're going to them to get funding, right? I wanna attach myself to you to get funding. So just be aware of that and always build relationships. Relationship. I would not be sitting here right now if it wasn't for relationships. It wasn't because I put in the application. It was because of the relationships that I built prior to that. So when the opportunity and preparation came together, I'm sitting here now. Ooh, I went to church on that one.
I'm soaking it up. I'm enjoying it.
Whatever question.
Yeah, so talking about that, I think we were a little bit too young when we applied for grants for Kaufman Foundation and Olathe last year too. Is there any upcoming grant schedules, anything that we should be aware of? And do you recommend almost like going to the bank for a loan? Would it be better if we have a track record of 0 to 3 years? It is going, it's not just I
don't know the nonprofit world very much, but what.
we're already for profit.
Yeah. So what I would say for a for-profit, let's just say you're a nonprofit and you're coming in and you're asking for the funding. We do look at different things. A lot of times you won't be a guarantor, right? Because we feel like, hey, if a nonprofit needs a guarantor, that might not be the right nonprofit for us. If nonprofit and for-profit, it's very different how we underwrite that, right? So when you come to a bank asking for a loan as a nonprofit, it's all about what the need is, right? Be clear with what that need is, what you're coming in for. Is it to buy a building? Is it to buy a truck, van, whatever? What is it for? And how would that impact your business positively, I guess, if we loan this money to you? Also, we're going to be looking at the historical numbers. We don't loan, again, trying to get a startup loan for a for-profit business, and trying to get a starting loan for a nonprofit business. It's even challenging. I'll just be honest, it's because, again, we're not looking for that other guarantor support, but we are looking for the historical numbers. How consistent is the nonprofit been as far as acquiring grants? We're all going to look at the concentration of your grants. Are you just have one grant with Kaufman, or do you have 5 different grants out there that you are historically getting? Because if you make Kaufman mad, or if Kaufman goes to a different direction, and you only have one, now our loan is in jeopardy, right? Now, we may not feel comfortable with that because all you have to do is make one mistake and you don't have any revenue coming in. So if you're a nonprofit, look at the sources of income, unless you have like a SNAP or somewhere where it's consistent. Even at that, we're going to be looking at, is that one opportunity, your only stream of income, and what does that look like for the business? So I would be cautious of looking for that one golden egg, try to have a few out there that works, and with some historical numbers showing that you all are successful. And then I would say number 3, we're going to be looking at like your board. Like, if you're a nonprofit, we have a pretty decent board. Banks like to do our due diligence on who's, helping you or assisting the organization be successful. If you don't have a board, it's just mom and dad, which is not saying that they're not capable, but we're also going to be looking at, how competent is your board to helping you navigate, your business or nonprofit during good times and lean times, which we know, those happen. So those are a couple of things I would, encourage you all to think about. And I do want to talk about the guarantor piece. One misconception real quick as a for-profit entity, be prepared to sign your name as like either a co-borrower, meaning XYZ company and, Jane Doe as the borrowers. When we're looking to approve the loan, or you may say XYZ company is the borrower and then Jane Doe is the guarantor. In our eyes, in my eyes, I don't think there's a difference, but honestly, it truly is when it comes to if there's an issue with the loan goes bad, we're going to be looking for that borrower and that guarantor to kind of help us support our payments. Don't go in thinking that, it's going to be a, non-recourse, meaning it's just a business being the borrower and you have no personal ties to the loan. Those days, unfortunately, are no longer. So just be prepared for signing your name as a borrower or guarantor on that loan. So some people think about it.
So as we're talking about funding, what financial statements
Good.
should they have or be preparing?
If you don't know what a profit and loss statement looks like, Google it now. And understand what that is. And basically, a profit and loss statement is, what your revenues are. You got, cost of goods sold, and it will subtract that. And then all your other expenses, insurance, taxes, marketing, advertising, whatever. And then that at the end is that net income, as Kesey was talking about, what does that number look like? So understand that, because as a lender and as an underwriter, I'm going to be looking at trends, year 1 through year 3. What was your revenues and what was the net income? And then even in between that, was insurance high? Why? Did you have high legal expense? Why? We're going to be looking at those trends to determine how successful the business is. Your gross profit margin, increasing every year, or is it decreasing? If it's decreasing, maybe you're making a lot of money, but you're losing money too because maybe the cost of you doing business is increasing every year. Although you're growing your sales, your gross profit margin is declining. So I would encourage you to look at profit and loss statements, understand them, read them. Investopedia is a great resource. If you don't know, it'll tell you everything you need to know about any financial statement. And also your balance sheet. Your balance sheet tells us your amount of assets and liabilities you have in the business. Get comfortable with that because your banker is going to ask you questions about those 2 documents because that's how we understand how successful the business is. What type of collateral you have on hand. And again, how much the business is worth at the end of the day. And so just be prepared with those terms. And of course, your tax returns at the end of the year, file them. I know people do, extensions and that's fine, but just make sure you file them. I have businesses who've been in business for years and they come to me looking for a loan. And I'm like, okay, I need 3 years of tax returns. And they're like, oh yeah, what happened was, I'm like, oh no, you can't do this. You gotta file your tax returns or I'm asking for interim statements. So if you don't know, if you don't use QuickBooks right now, I encourage you to use them. I'm sure like the small business development centers and Square One may have like free courses or low cost courses on how to navigate QuickBooks. Do it. I encourage you to take advantage of it because we're going to say, hey, it's August and you're looking for a loan. Send us like your second quarter of financials, right? And what means is your second quarter profit and loss statement and your second quarter balance sheet. We're going to want to know how well the business has done since that time frame. And then, we're in 2023 now, and you may not have your taxes completed for 2022 yet. We're going to ask for year-end 22 numbers. Again, your year-end through December 31, profit and loss statement, your year-end December 31 balance sheet. How well did the business do? Although it's not official because it's not your tax returns, but that gives us a good review of how well the business did for that year. And we'll compare them through the previous year. So again, those are just some things I would encourage you all to get training on. It's out there and Google or whatever you need to Google. But those are some financial statements that you might want to be prepared for.
So who knows who knows, who's seen the video or where they start the lemonade stand, right? Think of your business when you're putting that together. I'm gonna sell 15 cups of lemonade. Well, okay, my cost of goods are lemons and sugar, right? And then my expenses may have been, I need electricity because I have a neon sign, I gotta plug that up, So just don't get overwhelmed.
Yes.
Keep it simple like that little child with the lemonade stand. And then beef it up with yours, right? Instead of lemons, you're getting potatoes, whatever it is. So just try to keep it simple, don't get overwhelmed. And like we're all sitting here saying, there are a number, when you walk in, you see Casey SourceLink sitting downstairs, you got Square One. This building is packed right now with free services that can help you create that plan, get a workshop on profit and loss balance sheet. Do these things before you're in the middle of your business, you're flipping and flopping pancakes, and now all of a sudden you need to understand all of this stuff, but you won't pull away from the oven because you'll lose money at that point.
Can I answer the grant question? So the USDA, K-State actually just got a $750,000 grant. They're identifying local programs in the state and then they're gonna help with marketing. The USDA is building food business centers across regional food business centers to help entrepreneurs overcome the obstacles to success. The USDA has a local food promotion program that actually city governments can apply for and help entrepreneurs. There's a 25% match on that. Register with grants.gov, register with SAM. The SBIR program is a USDA program that funds research that can be commercialized.
Thank you for that.
Yeah, that's good.
I don't mean,
Absolutely.
overstep there.
To add to what he's saying, if you're operating your business in Kansas, Network Kansas, Grow Kansas, just write those two terms down. Network Kansas, Grow Kansas. They have 5 or more loan matching programs and even some grants and equity opportunities for you. So I'm not the expert on Network Kansas. We just sat at a workshop with that, but I've worked with 2 women-owned businesses that say we gave them, Allcat gave them 50,000, but because Network Kansas could go up to 200% of matching that loan of 50, they're giving her 100,000, we're giving her 50, but the key to that is that she only needs to provide collateral for the 50,000 that we're giving her. So she has a car she's paid off and her sister has a car that she's paid off. That's enough collateral for the 50,000 for us. And then Network Kansas is gonna give her 100,000 at like 4% interest rate. So Network Kansas, Grow Kansas, if your business is in Kansas.
What about Missouri? They do have a program kind of similar to that. I just don't know what they're doing. Yeah, we started up there with Grow Kansas and they're doing a lot more than I think the Missouri, but there's programs similar to that. I just don't know who they are and what they're doing.
Check with Casey SourceLink.
Yes.
Casey SourceLink and Square One.
Square One doesn't know, but there's a SBA table downstairs.
Yes.
Make sure that you all pick up a card, stop by, pick up a card and call them. They have just a wealth of resources, and they, just want to share and promote. Yep.
Make sure you understand your SBA loans before you if you're going for an SBA loan, make sure you understand.
Does everyone know what SBA loan is?
Thank you, help me.
Everybody's good? No? Well, I'll just keep it real brief. The SBA, Small Business Administration, and basically it's a government-led program where you don't get loans directly. That's another misconception. You don't get loans directly through them. You have to get a loan through the bank, and the bank, what they do is they will use the SBA program to provide you funding. So what that does is, hey, if I'm a bank and I don't feel comfortable doing this deal traditionally on my own bank money, I can reach out to the SBA and the SBA will kind of guarantee that loan. So if it's a $100,000 loan, the SBA will guarantee like 75% of that loan balance. So if it does default, Unfortunately, the bank has to give our firstborn, prick our finger, we have to do all that stuff to be able to potentially get that money back if you default, and then you'll be dealing with the government, which you don't want to do. But that just helps the bank. It's like a credit enhancement for the bank to do a loan where we just don't feel comfortable. You might have 3 out of 5 things we feel comfortable with. That can add that 4th where here we go, we're ready to go. But it's just a program that the government has been established for about 50, 60 years to help provide funding for small businesses who can't get traditional bank financing.
And one more thing, I don't mean to be so.
Yeah.
So I don't know if many of you know it, but Kansas allows you to operate a restaurant from your home if you have a mother-in-law home. So if you have a separate kitchen and a separate entrance, like a mother-in-law apartment, you can actually operate a restaurant from your home. Micro home restaurant, which is now allowed in California. California allows you to operate restaurants from your home. A mini restaurant, basically, you can do 50,000 a year in sales. Utah passed the law. Washington State is looking at it. Georgia's looking at it. So basically.
But your city can override that, just remember that, your city can shut you down. The city can go, so just because the state, just make sure if you go do that, your city, check in with your city first.
Okay.
The city-
So there's a way to get started,
Right.
If you want to.
get
that's
your
not-
stuff out there, which is really important to food
Right.
entrepreneurs, is get the name out there.
Ghost kitchens, cloud kitchens, virtual kitchens.
I don't know.
I have a lady now who's cooking food for she kind of like what you said, sir, but it's for profit where this entity needs fresh meals made, right? So she spends half of her day in their space. In the morning, she prepares their meals, labels, packages and labels them. Then in the afternoon, they're allowing her to use their kitchen to prepare her meals. So, and then she can circulate that out. I'm not keen on the virtual kitchens. That's new for me, but it seems to be working for a lot of people that are partnership, collaboration.
Yes.
What are the questions?
Good questions.
We had someone new walk in. Did it, anything strike you, a question?
I guess, I'm sorry if I missed this.
No problem.
If we are a new business and we're starting off and we are like very, very new, but we have a contract with a national grocer. Like, is that considered when you go into the bank? Cause I talked to one bank, they're like, well, we need all this stuff. Well, I don't have 3 years of this, but I have like potential 2 million sales, sitting here. Do they, like, how do you get them to look at like something like that?
No, that's a good question. Again, this is putting them on bank hat. So what we think of is contracts are made to be broken. That's how we think of it, And so although it's a great opportunity, and you have a credible resource as far as your funding. But again, and you just simply miss it when we talk about the nonprofits. If that's kind of your only contract and your only stream of revenue, let's just say you and wholesalers decide to part ways. Now the loan that we provided you based off that contract, it could be in jeopardy. So we want to see that, which is a great opportunity. What other revenue do you have coming in and to be able to support the loan payment that you need? So we really don't like the contract that using that contract as collateral. Some banks do, some credit unions may do that. That's another thing. I'll come back to that. But we want to see other streams of income, other revenue outside that contract, unless you have a historical numbers that, hey, you've been working with them for 3 to 5 years. We feel comfortable that that you can generate money and continue to pay that back. Unfortunately, that would not be a source of collateral a bank will feel comfortable. So your personal home, any other assets, equipment may come in play that we may feel comfortable with. But unfortunately, you're right, that contract to you is like, yeah, it's a great opportunity. But from the bank, we're thinking, hey, someone pisses them off and now, that contract is gone. And now we're calling you, asking you, how can you pay our money back? But that's another thing I'll talk about is every bank, every credit union I say is not created equal, right? So every bank, every credit union have their own appetite for things. Some might like restaurants, some may like construction, some may like different types of deals. So be comfortable whoever you bank with, ask those questions. What kind of loans do you all do? Do you lend to restaurants? Do you lend to so-and-so? And then ask your community, the restaurant community, who they get their loans through, who do they bank with? So sometimes they may have a good banker, and it's all about the lender too. The lender who feel comfortable and knows that space, he or she can probably get the deal done from your other banking. What you need to do is if they ask for your business, take that business to where that bank can do that business, because they're the ones who's going to be that partner, your team we talk about, to get you across that finish line. So don't be discouraged if your bank turns you down for that loan. There's likely other banks and financial institutions out there that can loan to your industry. So just be prepared for that.
Yes.
So is there an advantage for a long-term relationship with a national bank versus a local bank? The reason I ask this is I have we have both a local bank that we just love, and we're about ready to fire our big bank and get rid of them. Does that look bad when you've been with like a big bank for a long time and you're going with a local person that's giving you a lot more service? I mean, will that ever, like when you apply for a loan, even though you have your credit and everything, will be like, oh, what happened here? Does that matter?
I am a community bank guy. I love community banks, right? I've always worked for the community banks, and I think if you're a local business, local entity, and I always say your bank should reflect kind of your style, right? If you travel all the time and you in multiple states, a big bank might be good for you because you got access to, the ATMs and the bankings and all that. If you're a local small business, I always say community banks might be the better option. Not saying they're better, but we operate on different levels, right? We like the small business. We like the, $250,000, $100,000 loans, whatever. Big banks, they may start at about $1 million, right? So if your request is less than $1 million, they may not give you the time and the attention and the support that you need. So I am kind of biased to the community banks because I think that community banks do a better job serving the community and understanding small business. But to your point, I see that a lot where people have been with their large bank for years because it was always there. But when they need a business credit card or something small, they did not, can't talk to nobody. You got to call North Carolina, whatever, to get questions answered. And when you can walk into the community bank and develop a relationship right there. So you're not alone in that aspect.
And then the community banks, they support you. They come by your place.
Mm-hmm.
They eat your food.
Yeah, that's true.
They call you and say, hey, we need a caterer.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to another event after this. It's all cap. We're eating at a restaurant that we did a loan for. So we're more apt to put back into, not talking really about them. They're going to be the national banks. They're not going to really go into here. But we have to give to the community. Our loans have to be made in this community. National banks I can call you from Texas and get a bank done, I get a loan.
Thank you so much.
Thanks for your input, sir. Round of applause.
I love it. But no, that's a good point. And if you provide services, don't be afraid to ask your bank, hey, I'll do this. I work with a client that makes cookies and stuff. So sometimes when it's Christmas time, I'd rather order from her than order from, some large chain who don't bank with me, I don't have any relationship with. And your banks or credit unions or CDFIs normally would support you. So they can do that.
I had a question about PG, where you have to be the personal guarantor and you have to show your personal bank statements.
Yes.
Can you all talk about that a little bit? Are there red flags? What should they be preparing for?
Yes.
We're not looking at what you bought at the grocery store. But I will say this, if you feel embarrassed about anything, transactions that are coming out of your bank account, I would just get cash out the ATM because we're going to want to see the last 3 months of your personal banking. I've had some people that didn't want to do it because they didn't want us to see all the swipes.
Just for clarification, you have your business bank account, but when there isn't enough revenue being generated and you have to guarantee that loan,
yes,
they want to see that as well. And so
and I say like a personal financial statement too.
Yeah,
so and that's another financial document be prepared. So your personal financial statement outlines what you currently own personally: homes, cars, stocks, bonds. If you got cash value, life insurance, we want to know that. Then on the liability side, what do you owe in your home? What credit card bills do you owe? Olathe against your life insurance. You already have loans on that. You know, we're gonna wanna know that. Did you file bankruptcy? If you did, be honest. That's where the character issue comes in. Tell us, let us know, and we can sometimes work around that depending on, you know, how recent it was or whatever, how much. And then we're gonna ask other questions. Do you have dependents? Are you married? How much do you make? You know, we're gonna do that because again, although it's a business loan, as I talked about, you're likely gonna be a borrower or a personal guarantor on that. But we need to know what your, you know, how much capacity you have. And I'll add to, you know, if most banks are gonna require you to have what 10% or 10%, 15%, 20% down on a loan if you're buying a property or if you're buying equipment or whatever. And if you only have $20,000 and if your $20,000 is going to be the down payment for this project, the bank's going to be probably reluctant to do the deal just for the simple fact that we don't want to take everything you have, right? And then something happens and then now you're bankrupt and, you know, we're on the news saying we're kicking this family out of their house. We don't like bad press, as you know. Banks don't like to be in the news. So we likely will not feel comfortable doing that deal. So understanding how much cash you have out there and savings and how much collateral you have is very important to us. And that's why we're going to look at that personal financial statement, because once we give you this loan, we're going to just anticipate you paying us back 30 days. And we want to make sure you feel confident and comfortable with that. And we're not taking, you know, everything you owe. And also if you have a bankruptcy, what was the story behind that? Why, how long? We're going to ask those questions. So you had a question.
Last question.
And this might be kind of a complicated question. So let's say we have another business over here.
Yes.
So we have multiple homes that, you know, I bought cheap, rebuilt, put renters in there and SDRs. And I've built a trust and I put everything that I pretty much own. My cars are paid off, the houses are pretty much paid off, renters, that's all in a trust. But all my money, I kind of keep over here. Now, my personal statement, I kind of keep real low. And I do that because we have 2 special needs kids and we keep like kind of all the debt, like with me on the business side, that looks real good. If we needed to use some of that business side to be like the grantor, like trust, could that be the grantor to this other small business?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, you can do that. So you won't be the borrower. So XYZ company will be the borrower, right? But we know, hey, that personal financial statement is what's in this, you know, trust. Just how you explained it, I will explain that to your banker because now I understand the story, what's going on. Yes, what we can have is XYZ be the borrower, you and whoever your business partner is can be the guarantors, and that trust can be also an added guarantor. So what that tells us is if business A is having challenges, that means the guarantor of the trust can help support that payment in lean times or whatever. So that gives the bank confidence that, hey, business A may fall, but this trust over here has some cash flow and some assets that we feel comfortable with. Yes, we can be that can be like a guarantor for that loan. So that is an opportunity. Yes, no.
I wasn't sure if that would be considered like the 3 houses and the cars would be looked at as more of a debt than an asset.
We are going to look at, you know, how much debt is in that trust, you know, what is the, you know, the value and net worth of that trust, you know, so we are going to look at that. But if you got revenue showing in, you got some cash over there, you got some assets that we feel comfortable with, that, you know, we're not going to worry about that. We're going to worry about can that support the payment. We feel comfortable with that trust being able to support the payment. So that's a good question. That's a good question.
We actually have a few more minutes. Are there any other questions? I don't want anyone to not be able to get their questions answered. Anything? Yes.
Is there a difference between getting a business loan and a personal loan? Like if you felt in your personal, you know, profile, you could just get the loan that you need. Is there any kind of different, I don't know, in your tax situation or, you know, or anything?
No,
No,
that's a good question. So I would say, yeah, no, I would say there is a difference, obviously. So if you want to buy a personal car or whatever, yeah, that'd be a personal loan. However, if you want to take advantage of some tax benefits and things like that to be able to write things off, you can put it in your business name, I guess. And that's some of the tax advantages that you can get that you can't get on the personal side. So like your house, like I know some people, you know, home office. So there's some things that you can write off from your business side, although you live in your home, to write off for your business and to minimize your tax, you know, the amount of taxes that you pay. So you do get those tax benefits. There's been times where I've done a loan for business A, they're a startup, but they have significant equity in their home. So we did the business as the borrower. We're only using personal assets and we're using it as like a home equity line of credit type option. And so we were able to do that. She didn't have historical numbers, she didn't have that, but she had significant other income and we're using her personal assets. So I would say that's where your team of your accountants and your CPAs comes in very important. Say, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. What do you think? What kind of tax benefits do I can I earn if I do it on the business side, or simply should I just do it on the personal side? And they should be able to lead and guide you with what direction works best. So yeah, hope that answers your question.
Yeah.
Okay,
Anyone else?
that's a good question.
Okay, well, we do appreciate you all for coming out. We hope that the information shared has been beneficial. I am going to try to do a quick recap if I miss anything. Not writing.
Oh, you sound.
I would just be, I think I would like to know, what is the biggest regret that you have seen play out in people's lives within this?
I would say the biggest regret, that's a good question, is not trying. I heard one quote from somewhere is saying someone will apply for 1 million jobs to work for somebody, but they will try to be entrepreneur one time and fail and then don't do it again, right? So I encourage you all and I commend you all, if it gets challenging, stick in there, do it. But keep trying, keep working in your business, on your business. It's not, obviously it's not the most, it is exciting, I think, but it's not easy. If it was easy, we have 1 billion entrepreneurs running around here, right? So you all are having it's a high risk, high reward, right? So I do encourage you all to just keep trying. Is what I hear, because some people, and don't get discouraged, because people do, they come in for a loan or they start their business and they get turned down, or they business doesn't do as well as they expected and they quit. No, don't allow that one experience, that one lender or whatever to deter you from doing what you need to be doing. So I encourage you to do that.
Don't stay in your echo chamber.
Mhm.
We love our food,
Yeah.
but we're not paying for our food,
Mhm.
right? Always make sure that you're keeping an eye on what your consumer is doing
Yes.
and watch your competition
Mhm. It's good. Yes.
for what they're doing good and what maybe not so much.
Yeah, it's good.
So things shared. Have a business plan. Some form of a business plan, whether it's fully developed, whether it's a lean business plan, whether it's a one pager. I don't know how you can do a one pager because you're going to have to talk numbers. If you don't have your business plan at square one, we can help you write your business plan. If you need to do some research on your target audience, your demographics, please reach out to us. We would be more than happy to support you in doing that. So have a business plan. Build a team. Have a board of directors or even an advisory board. When you choose these individuals, think about their skill set. How can they help you? A board of directors is supposed to enhance that thing that you're doing. So who are those people that you know, or who do you know that knows someone that may be willing to help? If you don't ask, you'll never get an answer. So be bold, be courageous, go forth. You are an entrepreneur. Great risk, great reward. So build your team. Have your money in order. Know your numbers, what it looks like, and be truthful, be organic, be authentic in what your story is. Tell that story to your lenders. Your lenders love stories. They do. It helps them understand what you're trying to create, where you're going, and then be open to that feedback. Sometimes we go and we ask and we don't get the result that we want, but listen to what they're saying, try to apply that. It sounds like it's good to talk to multiple lenders. I think I picked that up even from the participants, the audience here today. And so just ask questions, network. Are there other businesses that you could potentially partner with to build your dream? You don't know if you don't network. Right here, you all are here, you're interested in funding. That was Chef Mikey, that was here providing a lot of information. And we have, what's your name? We have Brenda here. Talk to people. Just go and ask, you know what, you have a national banker, would you mind sharing? I don't know if you do or not, I'm not trying to put you on the block, but if it's not, you know, that's okay. You know, it might be good to know, like, why your partner here now. What needs do they not need that you feel like you need to do something different? Just know your community. And the only way that you know and you learn your community is to, you know, get out there and talk to people. What else? I think those were kind of the big three, like have your plan, build your team, and know your numbers because you're going to need money at some point in time. We're not doing this for free. What else did I miss?
Educate, but don't over-educate, so you stop yourself from moving. There's a cutoff, you know, you can only read so many blogs. You gotta eventually start. I know you're gonna be ready, you'll know, because you'll keep trying to, well, what if, that's when you know you're ready, because you keep trying to cram more stuff.
Yeah.
All right. And then do you all have cards?
I do.
Oh, are you open to
Yes.
questions? Okay, so
Absolutely.
you have Square One, you have Casey SourceLink. Again, there's a plethora of resources here in the city. Just go to, may I?
Absolutely. That's why I brought it. These are, no, serious.
Casey SourceLink, if you've not seen this, they have this beautiful roadmap. It has all types of information in there. I will not open it up, but grab
Actually,
one.
it's in their folder. It might be.
Oh, beautiful,
It is.
beautiful.
It is.
Make sure that you look at this for additional resources. Thank you so much, Bill. Anything else that I missed?
I appreciate being here, you all being open and honest about your questions. Your banker is your partner, right? It should be one of your partner. So don't be afraid to ask questions. Go into your bank, ask, you know, who does your small business loans or, you know, who does this? I encourage you to do that if you haven't done it, because they should be there. They want your business just as bad as you want theirs. And so just remember that. So again, I appreciate just being here and speaking with you all today.
And I want to add, thank you. Train came back. If you don't have a place for your food business, Mid-Continent obviously has the Culinary Center. It is at our Green Hills Branch 152 and Green Hills Road. But there's also the Innovation Center with an E that is over in Independence. Those are two great resources if you need a place to prepare your food, your product, and get it to your customer. So keep that in mind as well. Before we wrap up, Nita passed out a survey, if you would be so kind as to fill those out and hand them to her as you leave the room. We would be so appreciative of that. We thank you for your time. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to stop and talk with us. Be sure you get business cards. And again, stop at the tables that are downstairs to gather additional resources to help you along your journey. And we wish you all the best of luck. Thanks so much and have a great day. Thank you so much. Oh, yes.
Appreciate that. Oh,
We didn't have big green, but it's a small green. We thank you all so much.
No, this is just.
This is incredible. Being us out here for sharing.
Yeah, that was.
You.
Yeah.
I appreciate your sharing.
Okay, so you have starting
So, Thank you. Talk to you about.
That's why this sets your salary. Part of, but yeah, I'm not going to hire company. First of all, different world. I was. Yeah. So you storage your. We have time yet. She was like, come on, yeah. Ranch, like they know about, like, ready to fire. I want the trans.
It's all about that.
Hey.
Spanish. I never been the type to like. Yes.
Does that one?
There's like.
Yeah, that's right. I agree, well. So our Green American this part out. Yes, and like each county is like every year. I know the owner of Vice. And there's a small infant they time.
Mayor.
Started to do this. They're gonna get ready for fire.
A lot of farmers too. Summer.
Yeah.
It has, that's probably, by the push of the
No, and it's from how much like. It's like good. That's ideas there's some coming back to pieces months. Emotions, several really so. I was.
Just, I started doing that. I didn't want to grow anything, right? Even if she. And we, I mean, that's a lot of why you do that stuff.
It is like, it's all over the place. It's like, what is that? You know, think about this one, stuff that. You're right. You got too much time.
They do. You know, I plant flowers made of. And not.
Yeah.
A lot of people really
Oh, okay, my little one's both.
Thank you so much. You did a great job.
Appreciate you, but you know, I'm a big fan of the event, so.
Are you the fan? You was turn around.
I've been here for 11 years now, but
I
we
think
started.
that's where I'm doing.
Yeah, the joke now, it's, you know. But it's like.
So,
Relationship, especially.
it's like legal.
Yeah, why are we doing it?
Yeah.
It's so hard, like, we have our mortgage, but it's like, and we're like, you know what? But then I'm like nervous about that long-term relationship,
Yeah,
like,
yes.
that, I mean, it's like, we have, like, never had bankruptcy, we have great credit, but it's like, okay.
And don't pay your mortgage off or don't refinance it down.
Oh, no, I mean, we got it, I mean, we have such a small mortgage and, right, so like, it was insane. Yeah, we're in no rush to do that. The kids, when I have kids in college.
Absolutely.
That's my more, that's where the extra money goes.
Absolutely. Well, good luck with
Thank you
your
so
business
much.
and love you. And what's the on the table? What is it?
The name of the company is Boston. But I was a fan of Boston. And I was Monticello, Funny Hill, fun client.